Hey there, Will. How you doing? I'll just open up the chat box. So we've got another 5 minutes yet, Will, before the others arrive. So you can get in first if you like, and just put in your wherever your chat box is. I never know which way around it is over there. If you've got any questions, obviously write them down, and then that way. Hi there, Sam. So yeah, just saying, write down your questions. I've got a few things as backup. For some, I think they just want to come in and listen and kind of see what's going on. Yeah, you don't have to have your video on. That's fine. You can sit there in your pajamas. How you doing, Will? Where are you, Will? Where are you, Sam? So if you can type where you are in the world, what your profession is, and then maybe why you're here. So that's ultimately the point of this session, is to see whether I can help. Derbyshire. Oh, you're only down the road, up the road from me. I'm in Nottingham. So yeah, it's gorgeous here as well. So I'm going to get out for a walk after this, my daily quota. So yeah, let me know your questions. I don't think, have I had you guys here previously, or is this your first? Oh, both from Derby. So your mates, Derby Arena. Okay, or colleagues. So are you working right now? Are you doing things online? Are you furloughed? Are you, are you being productive and able to get into education like this, I guess? So did somebody suggest you come along here? Because I've had a few emails from managers. So how you doing, Lorna? So Lorna's over in Amsterdam, which is a bit further away than Derby. And the manager sent you across. Okay, well, I better, no pressure. Let's see what we can do. So let me know what you work as predominantly in Derby Arena. Are you personal trainers, or are you classified as health coaches? I know we've had a few guys through from facilities sent by managers. Here's some free education. Go check it out via Simspa, I think. We've got Lorna here from Amsterdam, who's a PT and a biomechanics coach. So I've known Lorna for a number of years. So personal trainer with health and well-being elements. So is Derby Arena a leisure centre classed as part of the borough? Lots of athletes using the cycle track. Okay, velodrome and gym, amazing. I'm trying to think if I know it, if I've been. I feel like I should know it. So I'm imagining that your gym and velodrome are shut, Will. Are they encouraging you to do anything online for members or people who would normally be coming to the cycle track and the gym, or are you kind of taking advantage of the time to focus on yourself, which is also okay? So I've got another 3 minutes. We'll hang fire. And again, I think sometimes when you get some decent weather, especially after the weather we've had, there's a good chance that the numbers will be smaller this week, which is fine. I'm posting the video recordings of these up on the YouTube channel. So yeah, we're all hanging on Boris's words, aren't we, Will, at the minute, to see whether, I think people are feeling like there might be light at the end of the tunnel. So Lorna, have you had more freedom since we spoke to you last over in Amsterdam? Yeah, so I think France is the same, although I think they may have had more limitations than we've got here. I think they've just been allowed out to exercise and stuff. So the schools go back next week. Oh, brilliant. I think that's possibly one of the first things that might happen here, but I'm not sure. But for us, personal trainers, sort of exercise professionals, I think we, in terms of where there's a lot of people gathering, might be one of the latter, or it maybe they just reverse our release in the way that we went into the lockdown, kind of like that limitation on numbers, hygiene, washing the hands, etc. I'm not so sure, but we'll find out. So even though you've been sent through, Will and Sam, do you have a specific question? If you could ask one question, what's the biggest problem you face with clients? Hi, Lindsay. How you doing? Right. Okay. Brilliant. Hi, Debbie. There they all are. How you doing? You all right, Lindsay? Where are you, Lindsay, in the world? Are you a person? Oh, she's gone again. So I know a few of you. So yeah, Will, Sam, number one question or problem you face with your clients? Oh, Lindsay's with you guys. Amazing. It's the Derby Arena Biomechanics Q&A today. Awesome. So PT as well. Is she a PT as well, or Group X? So let me know. And if not, I have prepared something, but I'd rather the session was about you guys and what your biggest challenges, both right now, but also in general, in terms of, thanks, Will, in terms of working with clients. What are the biggest problems you face, or the questions you have around movement issues, injuries, recurring injuries, that kind of thing, performance, maybe. If you've got cycle track and a velodrome, as you say, a lot of athletes, are they kind of amateur athletes or elite level, Will, that use your facility? I imagine you've probably got a bit of both, have you? Yeah. Darren, how you doing? So yeah, hi Robbie again. So
how you doing?
So yes, some of the guys in here I've known quite a while, others I'm meeting for the first time, which is fantastic. It is 12 o'clock, so I will begin. I'm aware. Oh, the GB team train. Is that cyclists, Will? GB, which part of cycling world sport are they? Is it velodrome? I don't know. I'm not familiar with the cycling GB world. Maybe you can help me out. So who are your GB team? Sorry, not who. Which specific GB sport or competition? Is it the bit where they go around the velodrome as fast as they can, groups and teams? Is it that bunch? Because we are literally right now writing a cycling biomechanics module workshop. Yeah, I knew Lorna would like that one. Bear with us. So where we come from as an education company is we only launch education that comes from an evidence-based background. So Martin and Dean, who are both chartered physios and biomechanics coaches, are doing a lot of research just now around cycling biomechanics, because you've got the bike fitting and then you've got the human coming together. It's a bit like horse riding, where if the human's not right, it's no good having the cleats in a certain position, or if the bike's set up in a certain way, that could inhibit or improve performance. So disciplines, pursuits, time trials, yeah. Cycling's not my thing. I think when I was 12, I did that show off thing where I tried to go down a steep hill without my hands on the handlebars and ended up sprawled across the floor. So I have bad memories. So Lorna has a question specific to I Move Freely, which is one of the programs we teach. I love your classes you're doing on the Her Spirit app. I'm thinking of doing something similar. Two questions. One is that I would first like to do some 10 to 15 minute bite-sized videos for free. I have some ideas on what to include, but any tips are welcome. Okay. Second is how to fill the time while doing, for example, good question, where it's a static 20-second hold, right? Not sure what you can talk about for, yeah. I don't have that problem, Lorna. I can talk for England. So I'm going to introduce Will, Sam and Lindsay to a pelvic function test and exercise. And what we'll do as a group in here is I'm going to keep, I know there's only a few of us. In fact, let me, there we go. No, where are we? I pin my video. I think I can keep you guys on the shot because I'm aware this is being recorded for others as well. So what we can do is, are you able, guys, to sort of sit back on a chair? I'm going to show you whilst I do mine. I'm going to show you how to test your own pelvis. So Sam, I can see you. Are you able to sit back so that you can, and I know have you got your laptop on your knee?
Yeah.
Can you put it kind of somewhere on the floor in front of you?
Yeah.
And so a really quick and simple way, and then I'll come to Lorna's question. So if you cross one ankle over the opposite knee, perfect. And then just let your knee kind of drop. And what we're looking at here, this is the range and symmetry test to understand if your pelvis is a bit sticky, all right? So brilliant. So Sam, your knee drops nicely there. We're trying to gauge how it feels in the hips and roughly where the knee is dropping to. And we do a comparison to the other side. And so mine is always a little higher on this side. And making sure that looks a little stiffer on that side, Sam. Yeah? Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
It looks like you're a little bit higher on that side. So
Yeah.
that confirms there's something going on in the pelvis that we might want to try and free it off a little bit. So if I was teaching you as a group in an I Move Freely session, we're going to run through a muscle energy technique, and we'll start with the good side. We'll just come over to this side and same position. So make sure your ankle bone is outside your thigh and above your knee, and you're relatively relaxed. So Sam, it looks like you're on a sofa.
Yeah.
So you may be quite low. So ideally we would be kind of 90 degrees at the hip, if it was possible. Yeah, just for comfort level. All right, brilliant. So the movement we're going to imagine in a moment, because we're going to do it isometrically, is rotation. So femur rotation, rotation of the hip, if you like, so that way. But at the same time, I want you to resist this leg against the one at the bottom. So you're resisting rotation. Yeah, you got it. Now, to do this isometrically, we're going to use the hands as a resistance point. You ready, Lorna? I'll see if I can help fill your question out here. So the hands are not pushing down. They're simply holding so that when you rotate your leg up into your hands stop it. But I only want you to apply 20% of your maximum hip rotation effort. And then we're going to hold it there for 20 seconds. So this muscle energy technique is about generating energy within those little tiny muscles around the hip. They're just stimulating them in a very subtle sense. And what the research has shown is this is a really effective way of improving pelvic function or muscle function of the hip rotators. So we release, take it down, and then we're going to do it again. So just let your leg go down, Sam. That's it. And then bring it back up. Just relax. And we're going to do 4 more. So hand on the inside of the knee. And then I'm going to lift the leg into my hand. My hand's stopping it. My hand's just resistance. And we hold there 20%. So what I often do here, Lorna, is I talk through, as you've seen in some of my I Move Freely sessions, breathing. Position, so we don't need to be kind of braced, we don't need to be kind of harsh and upright, just kind of relaxed. And then we take it down again, Sam, that's it, and then bring it back up, let it relax, hand on top. We're going to do 2 more on this side. Now the idea is that the research that went into this, I think it was Rebo and Siskar, they looked at kind of different amounts of effort produced and then the result when you let it go. So it's called post-contraction sensory discharge. So if, for example, we're taught about things like stretching is what you might be more familiar with. Stretching is taking the origin insertion away from each other using the concept of the Golgi tendon organ reflex. Take that down. We'll do 1 more on this side, guys. Take it back up. Now, I may not use that language with clients, Lorna. So if you're familiar with stretching, this is the opposite. So this is a bringing together of the origin and insertion. So the muscle's getting shorter, it's contracting statically. And what that does when we hold it, it's been realized, is it stimulates the sort of brain kind of connection to the muscle, and it actually kind of lets it go. So, or it improves the function or the stimulation, if you like, of that muscle. And then we relax, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So that was your good side, Sam. So let's go on to the sticky side, which is the same for me, a little bit stiffer on this side. That's it. You kind of have to hook the leg up.
Pull it up.
Try and relax first. Ankle over the side of the leg, hand on the inside of the knee, and then lift your knee into your hand and breathe. So sometimes, Lorna, I find quiet after some descriptions and language just helps people to take a minute and feel about it. So I try and get people to be conscious of that only 20%. And then we take it down and we do that again, bring it back up, relax, let it go. We're going to do 3 more and then we'll retest basically. So the idea being, it's quite hard in the beginning of doing a 20% muscle contraction. You have to actually think quite hard about it, because we're either doing nothing, we're relaxed, or we're trying to strength train. So this is kind of really low level, and that takes a little bit of thought to begin with, which is exactly what we're trying to do, is consciously think about only engaging 20% and then relax and let it go. Give it a little shake, take it up again, relax, hand on the inside of the knee, lift, hold. I want you to think now really hard about, am I doing 20%? You might think about the hard as you can, halved and halved again. Take them through that thinking. So just breathe, take a moment, think about your own body, where it sits in space. Just let it go, just let it relax. And then the last one, and then we bring the leg down, bring it back up. So for those I can't see, so Will, Lindsay, those guys, you know, feel free. Who else have we got? Yeah, Debbie, obviously you know this one as well, and Robbie. It's post-contraction sensory discharge. You can go and have a look. It's on the internet. You can go and find the research behind it. It was sub-maximal hold for an endurance period of time. So when we did our research into this technique, we just put the numbers: 20% effort, hold for 20 seconds, 4 reps, and then relax. So just let that go. So we're now going to retest. So we go back to the beginning and just see how it feels in the hips, see where the knee's dropping to, and then we change sides. And you can do this easily with a client in the gym, on a bench or something. And mine's released off a bit. And what we want to know is, does it either feel better or does it visually look better? So I'm looking at Sam, and that looks like it might feel a bit easier now. It may or it may not. Initially, it's quite hard for clients to think about. Hey there, Steve, how you doing? Popped up. And Jane, how you doing? So conceptually, it's quite hard to sell to a client, for example, because they're expecting maybe from us as exercise professionals something more sweaty and dynamic. And yet these are important aspects of preparing their body for movement. So for the Derby guys, if you've got cyclists coming in, one of the benefits to muscle function is, to muscle function is improved performance. So if a muscle works better, it will have more capacity in terms of the sarcomeres latching on and producing power when they're in the velodrome. So they can get faster times, they can get more range, they may be more comfortable. For regular clients, sort of back pain, shoulder issues, knee issues can actually come from a dysfunctional pelvis. So the body works as an integrated system in a set of chains. And if you have a pelvis that's a little bit stiff, that will translate down, potentially, down into the knees or up into the spine. So what you can find is something as simple as that test and exercise can actually take a client out of back pain. We just have to be mindful of how we present that to them in terms of how do we sell that in, being aware of your insurance qualifications and who they are, and obviously your consultation and everything. So Lorna, that was a little example of how I would do that. I was slightly technical because I'm aware I've got technicians in here. With a client, I do something very similar. I wouldn't use Golgi tendon organ reflex. I wouldn't use any of that stuff, or post-contraction sensory discharge. I would just be talking about stimulation, the way the muscle works and functions to free it off. I love the idea of the 10 and 15 minutes. I think right now, particularly, we all have a duty of care to try and help improve the movement of the nation. if we have that facility, either technically, have you got a camera, have you got resources, whatever you need. But also then when we get back to being interactive face-to-face, I don't see any reason why we can't even do it then. But certainly online right now, Lorna, I think you may have seen on my Instagram page, Biomechanics Education, I did a series of I Move Freely. I mean, they were like 5 to 8 minute video clips of individual I Move Freely flows. So again, the Derby guys, if you haven't seen those, you can, you know, whiz on over to my Instagram page and you'll see I've given a lot more of these types of techniques for the spine, for the pelvis, for the shoulders, etc. So you can go and take hold of those, try them out on yourselves, and then translate them out to the client. So go for it, Lorna. Don't hold back. Does that answer your question? Debbie's done an I Move Freely class like mine. Brilliant. I think you do, Debbie. And I think it's what we do is, it's like when you're teaching any group class. So I know the Derby guys have got a group exercise in here as well. In one way, you feel like you've got to fill the sound with your voice. Do this and back up straight and arms up high. And I guess it's similar. Sometimes you need to pause and let people just go with it. Other times you want to give technical cues on body position or how they are doing. That's great. Keep going. So I think it's the same, but I think with the muscle energy techniques in particular, I think we may need to give a few more tips and cues and encourage and educate because they're so different to stretch. Well, they're the opposite of stretching. So, Steve, are you a PT? Are you a personal trainer?
Yeah, PT.
Yeah, cool. So, from a personal
Group
training
X as well.
education background, we usually get taught if somebody doesn't move very well, they need to stretch, and that's almost all we get. And then we work with real people, and we know that sometimes doesn't work, right? So we go, all right, I need to do some CBDs and get more education in other things I can do. So we get foam rollers, we get sort of tools. By the way, this is a tidbit, and I hope there's nobody in here that's affiliated to a massage ball company. Dog ball, 69 pence. So don't pay 5 or 6 quid. Go to the dog pet shops, really cheap. So what we have to do is help clients get access to this kind of stuff from our own education and experience. Again, right now, people are strapped for cash, so I actually don't care. It was 69p, go to a pet shop. But I think we need to help them understand it's super easy. You don't need a gym in your garden. We can do this with a dog ball, with a broomstick, you know, your kind of mobility things. I mean, I love my long foam roller, but I've done spine release with a vodka bottle with a towel rolled over the top, because I was aware that the class I was teaching was to a bunch of people who they probably didn't have a foam roller, and I wanted them to benefit from you know, lying long ways on something tubular to let the ligaments relax. So one of my favorite techniques, if you haven't tried it, by the way, wine bottle, vodka bottle, but you need a towel because they're a bit harder, is lying long ways with that down your spine, on your back, knees bent, and just chill out. Because when we're sitting, we get what's called ligamentous creep. So when we're sitting and we're typing, doing our accounts or writing programs, the ligaments start to creep into this flexed position just because of the weight of gravity and relaxing, and you kind of fall down into this flexed position. So the spinal ligaments can get quite stiff in flexion, combined with tension in the soft tissues like pec minor, which pulls the shoulders, the scapula forwards around the shoulders, around the ribs. So by reversing that posture on a long foam roller, and don't do anything, just lie there for 2 minutes. If you've never tried it and you haven't got a foam roller, grab a wine bottle or something, put a towel over the top, just lie with it down, kind of as comfortable as you can get, down the sort of mid thoracic spine, and just lie there. And what you'll feel and recognize is, if you imagine your rib cage all attaches to that thoracic spine. If you have a stiff thoracic spine, I think we did this a few weeks back in one of these, you will be limited in spine extension, which is what you want if you want to reach the arms up and overhead, or if you want to squat down, or if you're on a bike. So the guys with the athletes on bikes, it will tighten or limit your lung capacity because the ribs are attached to the thoracic spine. You've got intercostal muscles between each rib, and a lot of people don't realize that they need stretching as well, because if you're sat with bad posture, they can kind of get tight and tensioned. So the act of lying on the foam roller and just allowing gravity to let your spine ligaments relax into extension is huge. So I know a lot of you guys, you know my work. For those who don't, it's got to be simple in application. So biomechanics, human biomechanics is a very complex subject. And yet, if you are a movement professional, you are looking at biomechanics and you're analyzing it and changing it by verbal cues, by visual cues. You are already in the industry of biomechanics. You know, everybody perceives it as the complex end, and what I try and do is say, look, it can be, but really we just need to help Barry and Phil down the gym, or Sue and Ethel get to Tesco and back with a Zimmer frame. So we've got to kind of boil it down to, how can I help this human in front of me to move better with less pain? Grab a foam roller, grab a wine bottle, lie back and just chill, breathe and let the ribs open up. And that might be gold dust to someone. The pelvic test and exercise we've just done could be another kind of real game changer for another. If it doesn't work for someone, then it's just another area. So we can go into shoulders, knees, feet, you know, it's down to you. You've got to ask the right questions. So Debbie says, numerous posts and videos, a lot of them are now doing it. Brilliant. Well done, Debbie. Have some videos recorded when we are back to normal. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen pre-COVID normal. I'm not sure we're ever going to get back there in a good way as well, I think, not just on the negative sense. Brilliant. Listen to podcast, Katie Bowman. Oh, girl crush. Yeah, totally. So yeah, just a quick sort of recommend is Katie Bowman, who is a biomechanist. I think she's Canadian, and she wrote a book called Move Your DNA. She does a podcast as well. She's done Alignment Matters and a whole body barefoot. And her content and her style, far better than mine, but a similar idea of trying to make movement simple and enjoyable and applicable from us as the practitioner through to the human. And I found even with the elite level athletes that I've worked with, it often is, again, simplification, because they're at the high end of their game. There's a lot of, they receive a lot of information about improving performance and diet and mindset and everything else. So if I can really simplify movement improvement, even at that level, it's not that far removed what I would do with Barry down the local gym, who just wants to lose a bit of a beer belly, you know. So I think conversation I had with Robbie earlier was, people often perceive, and rightly so in some ways, the body is very complex, but if we can really make it simple from us as educators through to practitioners and then through to the client, we can certainly help far more people. So questions, guys. Have we got anybody new popping in? Let's have a look. Darren, any questions, Darren? Jane? Lindsay? Have a look. Otherwise, I will talk about a subject that I always inevitably talk about on the training courses, which is pain. And I'm pausing slowly to see if there's any questions come in because when I get on one, I can keep going. I think pain is a huge subject, and so I'm going to literally touch on it here, because this is like, I've got, 40, 50 minutes above. Oh, sorry, Debbie, there's a question in there. Bear with me. Let me just come to this question, then I'll come back to it. Biggest challenge question, both generally and now, getting that message over that these techniques and mobility, etc., are worth the effort. I have mainly older clients, but applies to all ages, but they are often reluctant or say they will and don't. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. So basically, people not doing what they're told. Okay, there's a couple of ways of looking at this, Debbie, and I think this goes for all of us in here. You will have clients who they want to lose weight but they like a beer or a curry. You've got clients who you give homework and you talk to them about their lifestyle. We only see them maybe once a week, a couple of times a week, maybe 3 in a class, and you're advising them drink more water, all the regular stuff, and then they don't do it, and they come in, oh no, I haven't had time, or I forgot, or I didn't understand it. I think we're all experienced in having some empathy with Debbie's point, right? And I think IMFU is exactly the same. I think one of the challenges is that it ain't sexy and sweaty doing a muscle energy technique at 20% effort. So there's 2 ways of looking at it. One is education. So we have a responsibility to educate clients about their body, and we might do that in a resource, in a video, in a class, vocabulary, visual, I'm not sure. I mean, as a biomechanics coach, I would do tests, do the muscle energy technique, and then retest and show them, and then they can't deny that. So that's one model. In a group setting, it's a challenge when you're trying to create engagement. Some people don't even want to squat or lunge, and we have to explain why there's a benefit to take your knee through its full range of motion, maybe with less load or less reps, just to see how you feel, and then the same. So I think education is key, and how we do that might differ from session to session or client to client. Now, the other side of it is, I don't want to work with people who don't want to take my professional opinion that they're paying me for. It kind of doesn't make sense. So it's almost offensive. Here, I want your service, but I don't want to do what you've just told me. I want you to do this, because that's what I want you to fix me. They kind of want you to help, but they want to do it their way. So, well, I don't work like that. So again, not for everyone, Debbie, but I interview clients, and if I think they're in for a quick fix, I'll send them to someone down the road. I'm not interested, because they basically make me look bad, and I'm not going to get the results that I know I can get if I can work with somebody who buys in. But I do also take responsibility for giving them enough information, making enough effort from my perspective in communicating the benefits of unique techniques. It's my job to say, your body is an integrated system. I know your shoulder hurts, but we're not going to work on the shoulder. We're going to work on the pelvis. That is safer. And actually, it could be a pelvis causing the shoulder problem. If we feel you need some therapy on your shoulder, I have a colleague who can do that for you. So I'm not saying it's easy, Debbie. The solution is simple. It's not easy. Education, or they're not ready to take ownership of their body. And I think it's a big part of, I'm just about to launch a blog next Tuesday, which is kind of, the heading is get rid of your clients as quickly as possible. And now the reason I'm saying that as the header is our job as movement coaches, with all our professional backgrounds in here, even though I don't know some of you, I've not met some of you before, our job is to empower and educate our clients, our participants, our members. That's our job. Primarily, that's our job. The better we educate them, the less they need our help, the more they send their friends, the more we can help more people and be empowered and learn how to move better. Our job is not to keep clients as long as possible, just for the sake of keeping them for as long as possible because I'm worried about paying my mortgage. I get that. But I think ethically and morally, our profession should be to empower with integrity. Like, look, if you do everything I ask, it will cost you less, basically, because you won't need to see me as much. That will inevitably, hopefully, result in them saying to, their mate Frank, go see Rach. She's given me all the tools. I now know my key biomechanical pillars. I know to drink more water. I know, all that other stuff. I've got these exercise sheets, these handouts. You should go and see her. She's really helped. And the first guy, chances are he's going to come back as well for a bit of a top up or a body MOT. I mean, you Derby guys, if you're running classes and sessions, they're still going to be coming back regularly. I think PTs often have a fear that they lose a client and their income comes down because we're a low paid profession. And right now that it's a big issue because nobody can afford anything right now, or people are very limited, but we still have a role to play. So I think Lorna's suggestion of short video clips and tasters and teasers and tips about vodka bottles, and I don't think that's of a detriment to our business. That the first thing everyone's going to want to do when they're able is come and see us, right? What's the one thing you miss the most, guys? All of you, honestly, it's that oxytocin of a hug from your mum or your friend, or being with another, apart from the people you live with. I'm lucky because I actually like the people I live with. So hopefully you guys do as well. But everybody is craving, interaction. And in some ways we're kind of more connected. I may not have been able to talk to, Steve and Sam and Will and Lindsay and you guys and Jane, had I not been forced online in this way. And yet I'm loving being able to speak to Hong Kong, France, Spain, Sweden, the Americas, Asia, India, I've had on my live sessions. Is that not a great thing? Yes. Do I want to get back to face-to-face? Yes, absolutely. So I think if you go into your PT sessions with the mind of, the better I can equip this person, this client, to understand what I'm trying to communicate, how to move well, how to look after themselves, how to eat well. That's the core essence of what we're supposed to be doing, right? Rather than saying you need to sign up for every week for them, months and months and months. And it may take months in the beginning, but really we should be empowering. Right? I don't know, maybe, am I getting on one, guys? Debbie, so mainly my clients are our gym members, right? Okay, so not always easy. No, I get it. I think elderly are a great demographic for these types of techniques because they feel able to do them because they're so safe and low grade, rather than doing boot camp or HIIT or something too sweaty. So you just need to pull up a chair. If you sit like this, and then, or you could alter the positioning for them. So I think for them, we've just got to be good at educating and selling the idea. So hopefully that helps a little bit, and in a more generic sense. So I just want to talk about pain for a moment, because I am quite confident, even though I don't know some of you, that you will have or have had clients in pain. And we as exercise professionals, is anyone in here a clinician, by the way? Any medical professionals in here? I'm not sure. No one medically trained, right? Okay. So I think there's a divide between the medical world and the exercise world, and yet my personal opinion is 80% of the UK's pain can be helped with exercise. So we have this kind of grey area of remit. Do I keep this client or do I send them away? And so I'm starting to, I feel like for me professionally, I know what I do. And I want to try and put into place a structure or concepts to help. And are you familiar with the term red flags, yellow flags, in terms of, so number one, pain is a red flag. Okay, so if pain is a red flag and we send all our people in pain away, our gyms, when we're back face to face, would be pretty quiet, because there's a lot of pain that we think, well, that's okay, isn't it? But we may still have concerns or reticence. So I just want to try and help with some definitions that I try and use with a client to understand maybe what they're telling me in terms of what they initially describe as pain. So there's a great book, by the way, that will help you with this. If you like books, Explain Pain. I'll just type it in. If I can type, okay, my Explain Pain by Law. Sorry, ignore me part of the video for those watching it back. Sorry. As I try and type, Laura Mosley and David Butler. Now, the reason I recommend that book is because it's great for us as professionals, but it will also help you use pages or sections to show and explain to a client what their pain actually is. So number one, I would use the Borg scale, or a version of the Borg scale, 0 to 10. So if I said to Sam, okay, 0 is no pain at all, 10 is having your arms ripped out the sockets, where do you feel right now? He's like, oh, I'm like a 1. So immediately I'm like, oh, right, okay, that's not too bad. Is it sharp? Is it dull ache? Yeah, sharp is like, could be nerve. Dull ache, probably muscular. Kind of, again, that's okay. So he says, okay, it's dull ache, right, great. Does it feel better when you move or when you don't move? Well, it feels better when I move. Ah, good, tick. It feels worse when I move. Red flag. So there are a series of questions, and these are the sort of things a clinician might run through. Now, we're not trying to be a clinician, but we're trying to work out, because some people will call a stiff back pain or a tight muscle, it hurts. Have you ever had that? You've had that experience? Yeah. So what we're trying to work out from these questions is just if they're saying, yeah, I'm like an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's worse when I move. Then I'm like, well, okay. Can we talk about this? Yeah, it's sharp. It shoots down my leg. I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. But if they're saying, no, it's a 1, no, it's a dull ache, no, it's fine, it feels better when I'm walking, then I'm like, yeah, this is different. But they could have both come in saying, I hurt. So it's a differentiator of what pain is. So I put pain under a heading of sensation. So stiff, tender, tingly, sharp, achy, you know, all of those descriptives a client may describe as pain, or, you know, they may fit into that bracket. So I think if we can clarify that and use the 0 to 10 kind of perceived scale, I would also be mindful if a client says, I'm an 8, no, I'm all right today. I'd be questioning that. Or if they're kind of hanging onto the door and saying, oh, no, it's only a 2, I'm all right. You know, we've got to interpret body language as well. So that's one big player, I think. And I think some of that we probably do without thinking, but you can actually use that in documents to show it worst case scenario, something bad happens, that you've gone through a duty of care series of questions. The client said this, you wrote it down, they maybe signed this at the end, for example, and that goes in your favor. Another thing is the difference between an injury and an issue. So an injury in my world of definition is trauma. They fell off a bike and they snapped a bone. They've torn a muscle. It's a grade 3. There's bruising and bleeding. That's an injury. That is a red flag. We don't go near it. Then there's issues, and there's quite a broad kind of umbrella term for chronic pain or long-term, low-grade, it's not been diagnosed, there's nothing really wrong, it's just there, I sit at a desk a lot, and then I ride a bike around the velodrome. That, again, I would run through loads of questions, but that could be just an issue. Yeah, I've got a bit of an issue. But they might say, yeah, I've got a back injury. They haven't been diagnosed, they haven't had trauma, they haven't fallen over, it's just backache that they've had for a long time that they classify as an injury. And they're two quite different things. So I think there's too much broad sweeping of language of pain and injury, and that's not our remit. As exercise professionals, pain and injury are not our remit. Issues and low grade aches, or, you know, those kind of things, they are very highly likely our issue, because they could be caused by either overuse, underuse, or a compensation through the system that results in a biomechanical loading zigzag where the pelvis is off, QL's stuck, right shoulder hurts, they've had treatment, they blame the physio as being rubbish because the shoulder still hurts even after treatment, because the shoulder isn't the issue, it's somewhere down here. But guess what? That's what we can help with. So this is what I know a lot of the guys in here are already biomechanics coaches and I'm free instructors, but this is a big part of what we're trying to help clients understand is your shoulder problem could be nothing to do with your shoulder tissue. There's no pathology there. It could be coming from a compensation through your body because you sit at a desk all day, maybe on one hip or with a wallet in your pocket, or you drive a car or carry a bag on one side and then sit on a bike and fix and strengthen that kind of off position so that when you're coming into my session, your shoulder hurts. So it doesn't mean the physio's wrong or rubbish at all. They've done the right thing. They're trained to assess and treat the area that hurts. But if it doesn't result in long-term solution, then they can come back to us and we can work with the areas of the body that don't hurt. And so it's this nice kind of collaborative effect between us that gives long-term benefit to the client. So send them away for this bit, and then we work on this bit, or you know, whatever it is. That would be a system. I'm also looking at how we classify who can diagnose, and I'm discovering there's kind of a clear line, but I can't quite get a clear definition. So it's only somebody who is classed as a qualified, allied, regulated clinician. And I think there are 16 titles that fit into that category. So physio, osteo, chiro, that kind of GP, surgeon, those kind of people. And then there's underneath those guys, if you like, if we had a hierarchy, you've got sports therapists. Now, there's a lot of, there is no real regulation of your title from a level 3 sports massage course that you might do as part of your PT education, right up to a sports therapist degree level. There's no, they can both legally call themselves a sports therapist. So I think another role we play as exercise professionals is in helping the client understand these differences and to be clear of who you might recommend they see. So building a team around it. So Derby guys, do you have clinicians or therapists within your centre that you collaborate with, or are you fitness? Because I know a lot of leisure centres, gyms, chain gyms, independent gyms now kind of house maybe a private physio or a sports therapist or a manual therapist to assist with maybe more problematic members and clients. So do you have one, Sam?
Yeah, I'm a level 5 soft tissue therapist.
I can't hear you.
I'll type it.
I've got my sound on. Can't hear you, mate. Are you able to just type? Just a yes or no. And I'm sure even if you don't, you have found yourself, Steve, maybe you can, right? Oh, amazing, fantastic. So, so Sam, being a level 5 soft tissue therapist, will be familiar with the problems of titles in that area, because to a client, what's the difference between a level 3 and a level 5? You know, so you will have gone through, I imagine, I don't know, sort of level 2, level 3 train, level 2, level 3, level 4, and then level 5. Even if you did it in one hit, you would have gone through a process of basic anatomy training and then got more in depth. And yeah, okay. But for the end user, the client, they don't know. They just want a massage. They want to go and see a sports therapist, and they use that terminology is very ambiguous, I think. So I'm working with an osteopath, a physiotherapist, two osteopaths, one physiotherapist, and Gary Benson. Are you familiar with Gary Benson of the Sports Therapy Association, Sam?
Yeah, I heard of him.
He is doing a huge amount in the background. He's kind of tackling this idea of titles alongside Simspa, who is the new, well, they've been going for a while, but they've now taken on reps in the exercise world, to understand standards, titles, and then insurance capacity and remit. Because I think because we're becoming more hybrid, and we're all kind of getting all these different skills put individually, the idea of what we are insured and qualified to do is starting to get a bit muddy. And so it's a great thing we're multifaceted, but I think, that's my understanding, Sam, is that you can't diagnose, but you can help to treat injuries. Yeah, so this was one of the classification. Your actual profession is the one I'm trying to knuckle down to be clear on, because I think level 3, level 4 definitely can't, they're not in the bracket of diagnosis or clinical, but you could have clinical training but not be a clinician. Yep. And so this is another thing, but the client doesn't care. They just want to go to somebody who can take the pain away. We often care too much and think, well, I could probably help. And so we've just got to be careful that really honest, ethical duty of care may go against our commercial common sense instinct of like, oh, well, I can probably help. And we've got to keep within our remit. And so I think that's a big thing now, and moving forward, I think even more so coming out of this lockdown, we're going to have a lot of people with bad backs, knees, all this stuff. So I think we're going to get busy, by the way. And so understanding how to position what we do, what we don't do, I think that's an important part. So Sam, you're of the same mind, which is awesome. That even a sports level, a degree level sports therapist is not a clinician. They cannot diagnose. But I think there's to really knuckle down the definitions is quite tough. In my mind, I feel like I'm kind of, I know. Hi, Abdul. See you crept in there. How you doing? So it's just being mindful of the communication of it in marketing, because you want to attract people in with the benefits you can offer, but then it's staying within remit, but at the same time doing what we can. So I kind of wanted to explore that with you. Any thoughts on that, guys? Just please type away. Any questions around pain, injury, pain science? One of the big things that the Explained Pain book really helps with is, did you come across that one, Sam, by the way?
No, I've not heard of that one.
With your skill set, I would definitely, you can go on to, if you don't want to invest straight away, go on YouTube, type in Lorimer Moseley, and he's got sort of 3 or 4 little 20, 15-minute clips, and he's very charismatic, quite humorous, and his vocabulary is suitable for a client as well. So even if, Robbie or Steve or Lorna wanted to help a client understand their pain, you could just send them to one of those clips and it would make sense, it would resonate. Same as Peter O'Sullivan has done a great video with Jack, who had back pain. And if you can send them in the direction of those videos, it can help them understand that pain is an input, not an output. So your actual tissue doesn't hurt, but your brain senses danger from the heat or seeing the flame and tells you to pull your hand away. So, but they communicate it far better than I do. Yeah, absolutely. So I think if we can give or promote the resources like these clips or videos or send them to clients, it can also help us do our job within our scope of practice. So I strongly recommend you go and have a little look at the YouTube clips from those guys. And I think the Explain Pain book is an investment. And they've just launched one that's Explain Pain Supercharged, which is the same book, but far more technical. So if you're a bit of a technician, but I really like the Explain Pain one because I can use it and show a client, just have a look at these two mountains, and the lines are your tissue tolerance and injury point. And then after an injury, your tissue tolerance goes down, your pain might kick in sooner because your brain thinks you're going to burn your hand again because it sees a flame even though your hand's not near it, and you almost get, if you've ever watched a movie, have you ever watched a horror movie like Saw? Yeah, I'm one of those sickos who likes that weird stuff. And you kind of go, oh, and you physically feel something purely from a visual representation. Another example from Robbie, from your background, are amputees coming back from war having phantom limb pain, trying to explain to a client the way the brain works is it's an interpretator of sensation from physical stimulus, visual stimulus, sound, smell, everything else. So you can feel pain even though there's no pathology or tissue damage. So, but they do it far better than I do. So I think it's worth exercise professionals understanding some of that, so that we become more proficient in communicating to clients who describe or experience pain, what it is, what it isn't. Because a clinician will be trained in, maybe you have as well, Sam, I'm not sure, I'd be interested to know actually, in how to take a client into graded exposure of pain within safe parameters. And so Lorimer Moseley describes that quite nicely. And that might be our demographic that we would work with, who we classify as safe. It's just low grade, it's chronic, it's, you know, low level, it's just dull ache. But what we're trying to encourage them to do is move more and say that pain, yeah, absolutely, RPE scales is good. But to say to them, even if you go walking and it hurts, know that the walking is a good thing, that motion is lotion, and we use a nice vocabulary. Movement is medicine, whatever it is. Psychologically, the power of that to give a client confidence to move can in itself reduce their pain. I've had that with clients, I've had that with myself, where I've had a chat with myself where I know a little bit and I'm like, oh, that doesn't really hurt, that's just in my head. Every time I use a chair, my back aches, but I can stand up and I'm okay again. It's literally the psychology of I hate sitting in the chair. So I usually, you probably see me, I sit and wriggle around and I'm quite dynamic as I'm talking to you. I can feel it, but wouldn't want it to increase any further, usually no higher than 7 to 8. Yeah, I mean, I use kind of 5 as the break point, 4 to 5 as the break point, but I don't do sports therapy. I'm more the exercise part, movement parts are more dynamic. But yeah, you've got to use what's right for you, and there's no right or wrong as long as you feel that's the right thing to do. Because the biggest indicator of what you're going to do in a session with another person is them. Irrelevant of research and science and all the stuff you learn, whatever I say, the most important deciding factor in what you do with another person is that human, what you see, what they tell you. And our communication skills really need to, maybe we should always try and hone them. And one of the big benefits of being forced online for me, wishing I was a wordsmith, is it's now forcing me to consider my vocabulary skills coaching people online in 2D, because I'm not there. I can't go over and move them and touch them, and you know, so it's forcing my weak area of my perceived weak area in verbal communication to really be more considered, which is a good thing, I think. So I think we should all do that. So, okay, so we've got kind of 5 minutes. So I'm going to kind of start to bring this around to a close. But if you've got any more questions, feel free to write them in. My plan is to do at least one more of these. The previous ones are on YouTube, so you can go back and have a read. You can scroll through. If it's not what you want to hear about, you want to go to the next bit. So if you go to YouTube, Biomechanics Education, you can subscribe. And at the moment, I'm uploading a huge amount of content. Some is video content, so conversations with biomechanics coaches, which I think will be helpful. Lorna, I need to tap into you for one of those, please. An interview online, please. Just about talking to other professionals. What do you do? How do you do it? What problems do you face? How do you know? I think that alone can be quite informative. So, okay. So social media, yes. So Instagram, biomechanics_education. Facebook, Biomechanics Education. YouTube, Biomechanics Education. And then the website is, guess what? Biomechanics.education.com. But there's a stack of videos. I've also created some online CPDs that are either free on the YouTube channel. There's a 5 steps to a successful online presence, which has been really popular. That's free. If there's some stuff you want to invest in, there's some low cost from 27 quid. I've just created a bundle that is 357, which is how to fully assess online the pelvis and the spine. Running biomechanics, I Move Freely is all part of that bundle. So trying to help people with what they need and want right now, particularly, is my immediate aim with everything I'm doing. And then obviously this is again free. Trying to get you lot to talk to me is a little bit like, come on, give me a question, let's discuss this. But I'm aware that it's not that easy in a kind of 2D platform. So, and if I open up all the mute buttons and we all speak, it can get a bit chaotic. But okay, so no more questions coming in. Number one, I appreciate you coming along. I'm aware that the sun is shining, which is why we may have less in here today. So please, please, please go outside, use your quota of sunshine and movement, or get in the garden. Teach your clients about the eye muscles that I've been talking about. I've been doing a little research into the old eye muscles. They need stimulating and cross-training as well, rather than a 12-inch distance focus. Get clients to go look at a bird or a mountain or something and exercise those eye muscles away from the screens as well as the whole body. Good old Katie Bowman inspires me with all that stuff. So yeah, a few links in there. Katie Bowman, Move Your DNA. Laura Mosley, Dave Butler with Explain Pain, and obviously all of the information I'm trying to get out to you guys. But let's keep going, guys. We have a duty to help our nation move a little bit better. Keep doing what you're doing, and maybe see you here next week. If you think of more, I've got my friend here. We can get more dynamic, maybe. Ask me some stuff. I don't know. If I don't know, I will ask one of my colleagues. But keep your eyes out, by the way, for the resource I'm building. We're trialing it on the IBA portal. So you guys who are IBA members, you're going to be my trial group. So I'm going to be doing a campaign for you soon, which is a clinical diagnostic screening for your clients about red flagging and then where to send them. So it might be interesting for you, Sam, later on down the line when we trial it. It will be available eventually as an online document to help with clinicians' input as part of the service. So that would be great. And right now it's important. So keep your eyes out for that. If you go onto our website, by the way, on the homepage, you can subscribe. There's a weekly blog that goes out with, again, loads of content in there. So if you're interested. If you don't want to, that's also fine. However, keep moving, guys. And I'll hopefully see you next week. Take care. See you soon. Thanks for coming, guys.